Mr. Matheny, do you believe that had the United States banned outbound investments to Chinese about 15 years ago or so, it would have made a difference in the ultimate outcome of the advancement of AI and other technologies that are possibly harmful in the competition and a strategic outcome with what we've done?
I think there are many cases over the last 15 years where we have seen a U.S. investor come in to a Chinese high-tech company. Matt talked about ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, where that early U.S. investment was absolutely essential to that Chinese company being able to thrive and grow, both domestically in China and then ultimately around the world. And so I do think, just looking at the history of these kinds of cases, that had we had a tailored investment restriction regime 10, 15 years ago, we probably would see a less well-developed Chinese high-tech industry and some of these key technologies, and that would be very much in our interest.
Do you think any of our partner nations and allies have adopted restrictions to their citizens investing in Chinese defense sectors?
I think there's sort of window guidance in some countries. We've seen investment drop off from Japan, for example, into certain Chinese sectors. But again, I think this is one of these areas where we lead and eventually others follow. The United States, President Trump was the first official anywhere to put human rights sanctions on Chinese officials who were involved in the Uyghur genocide. But eventually, parliaments in Europe and began to follow suit. Canada and others followed the lead of the United States.
Does the PRC limit their citizens and private industry from investing in our industries?
They heavily regulate, depending on where they want to see strategic gains. So there's a constant give and take in terms of the instructions that industry receives in China.
My first question to Mr. Harrell, what has been the economic outcome for countries like South Korea and Taiwan by imposing outbound investment restrictions?
When the Biden administration was looking at this issue, they looked at both South Korea and Taiwan, which have, frankly, fairly narrow, but I think nonetheless important limits on semiconductor investment by their companies in China. Obviously, both Korea and Taiwan have very advanced semiconductor companies, and a number of years ago, those countries restricted or imposed a regime to make sure that their companies weren't putting the most advanced technologies in China. A really pretty narrow, only going after the very, very bleeding edge of the technology. I think we need something broader than that. What the Biden administration would do is broader than that. But what the reality, looking at those cases, is the costs were quite limited. I mean, South Korea and Taiwan have the world's most successful, or among the world's most successful semiconductor companies. We obviously have some here too. So I think what that experience shows is that you very much can impose a tailored and scoped restriction on investment in China and have very much a global leading company here at home.